Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Shah Al-Hafiz bin Sulaiman. Today, my group member we present about the case study. This is a table of content. First, introduction. Second, background of case study. Third, audit planning. Fourth, audit finding. Fifth, proposal to control hazard. Sixth, crossing plan and reference. First, introduction. Human environmental safety and quality of life are improved by reducing hazards. Toxicologists and environmental scientists are currently conducting research to reduce this risk. As a result, hazard risk assessment is a critical tool for organizing the management of this substance hazard. Chemical can exist in a multitude of physical states in nature, including gas, liquid, and solid. These compounds have a wide range of uses in a variety of fields. Humans utilize and handle them extensively in a wide range of professional settings, including college, school, hospitals, enterprise, corporation, and even household. The second point, background of case study. Our company involves in fiberglass building. Then the issues of one internal in fiberglass laminating section had been admitted to the ward, suspected for lung infection due to prolonged exposure for hazardous chemical. uh, Scope of audit, the task force is required to provide the hazard audit plans and finding and proposal to address these issues, and will presenting this audit plan on our meeting soon. Second, this hazard audit plans and findings will include the store near the fiberglass workplace because this incident might happen from the store too. Third is hazard audit form plans and findings will exclude other workplace that are not located near the fiberglass. Fourth, in these audit plans, we will include the person in charge at the form to ask them about the condition at fiberglass workplace. Fifth, from audit plans, we can easily recognize the problem and we can upgrade and fix this problem as soon as possible. Next, the purpose of audit. Safeguards for the laminating area. Hazardous chemical plumes will be checked by our company. We update on a daily basis so that workers can easily consult, consult them. Second, to improve safety performance in a systematic manner, these companies must implement effective safety management, organizational structure, for example, hazard identification and risk assessment. Third, to develop adequate and effective means of disseminating safety and health information on materials and process to employees through adequate instruction and training employees. That's all for me. The next I will pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
Okay, this is the audit planning, which is date on 16th October 2021. The company name is Triple A Sindrian Berhad. Audited company name Rajawali Marine Shipyard RMS. Audit process, hazard and materials identification survey. So the scope of audit, the task is required to provide the hazard audit plans and findings or the proposal to address these issues, and will presenting this audit on meeting soon. These hazard audit plans and findings will include the store near the fiberglass workplace because this incident might happen from the store too. These hazard audit plans and findings will exclude other workplaces that are not located near the fiberglass. In these audit plans, we will include in this charge the form to ask them about the condition and the fiberglass. From audit plans, we can easily recognize the problem and we can upgrade and fix this problem as soon as possible. The audit proposes appropriate safeguard for eliminating area hazardous chemical fumes will be checked by our company, which will be updated on a daily basis so that workers can easily consult them. To improve safety performance in a systematic manner, these companies must implement effective safety management, organizational structure, for example, hazard identification and risk assessment. The last one is to develop adequate and effective means of disseminating safety and health information on materials and process to employees, adequate instruction and training employees. So, task and responsibility. The task is distribute checklist and audit form. The person in charge is office worker. The responsibility is the audit checklist and audit form should be prepared and distributed. So the second one is site visit, which is workplace, top management and task force to inspect the condition of the place of work to inspect their workplace condition. PPE inspection, task force and workers to make sure the safety and the condition of PPE in working and maintained correctly. Van inspection, task force and workers to make sure everything flowing properly through the van perfectly. Last but not least, material inspection, person in charge, task force and workers to make sure material arranged in the correct order to be safe from any damage. That's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, next for the audit findings. For the first one is example, multigenicity, reproductive toxicity, respiratory sensitivity, organ toxicity, respiration toxicity. And for the second is flammables, pyrohorics, self-eatings, emits flammable gas, self-reactive organics, parasites. And for the third is exclamation marks, skin and eyes, skin sanitizer, acute toxicity, which is harmful, narcotic effects, respiratory tract irritants, hazardous to ozone layer, which is non. Next, the gas cylinder is under pressure. Corrosion, skin corrosion and burns, eyes damage, corrosive pneumatics, exploding burns, explosive, self-reactive, organic parasite, flame or physical, oxidizer, and environments, aquatic toxicity, skins and crossbone, which is acute toxicity. And for the form risk assessment, deciding the assessor gathers information about chemical risks and work practice, divide into units, determine degrees of hazard, evaluates exposure, assess adequacy of control, concluding the assessment, identify action to be taken, reporting the assessment and review assessment. For the first, deciding the assessor. An assessor must be appointed by a workplace employee who is informed and skilled in performing assessment. Yes, the assessor must be given the ability and resource. Gather information, speak with the right personnel, evaluate existing documents, and inspect the workplace. The employer should be conscious of the limitation of the staff during the evaluation in terms of experience and knowledge. and be willing to solicit the help of specialists if necessary. Gather information about chemicals, the works and work practice. The goal of this step is to identify all hazardous to health chemicals found in the workplace and to collect information about the works and work practice involving hazardous to health chemicals. And for the test is divide into different are divided into work units for assessment. They must be inspected in areas where chemicals are used, handled or released into the working environment. During the inspection, where and how hazardous chemicals are used, handled or released will be exposed to the hazardous chemical and are exposed. Identify all hazardous to health chemicals to which unit is exposed, whether from chemical use or handled by the work unit or chemical use from work activities. So for the next slide, determine degree of hazard. Identify all hazardous to health chemicals to which the works unit is exposed, whether from chemical use or handled by the work. Next, evaluate exposure. The purpose of this step are to assess the exposure of the works unit to each the chemical hazardous to health use, handled by or exposed to the, and at the same time assess the adequacy of the anxiety countermeasure. Assess adequacy of countermeasure. Measure evolution of air sample and biological monitoring records and inspection. Testing and examination of equipment are all used to assess the adequacy of existing measure. Concluding the assessment. Finish the evaluation for each works unit. This will be useful in determining whether risk control measure must be identified. Before concluding the evaluation, the assessor should consider the following: whether there is enough information to determine the level of risk, whether there is certainty in assessing or estimating the degree of exposure, if the risk is significant or significant, whether the measures are adequate. Identify action methods. Based on the result of the assessment in step 7, identify possible actions to be taken, including precaution and countermeasure. Reporting the assessment. The documentation of an assessment is important because it will be used for follow-up action, review and compliance with legal requirement. The Usage Regulation 2000 requires the assessor to submit a report to the within 1 month of the assessment completion. Names and address of the workplace, particular chemicals being assessed, including hazard description and hazard rating, description of work units, particular of the workplace assessment including exposure, description and ratings, and adequacy of existing countermeasures, risk evaluation and conclusion of assessment, recommendation for further action. And the last one is review assessment. The assessment will be applicable at all or in all changing conditions. As a result, the assessment must be reviewed on a regular basis. The requirements for reviewing assessment are outlined in the regulation to the evaluation must be reviewed. The legislation guideline related to hazardous chemical. Regulation of chemical packaging class regulation. The occupational safety and classification, labeling, and safety data sheets of hazardous chemicals regulation 2013 class regulation have been released on 11th October 2013. The class regulation promulgated under the Occupational Safety and Health Act 1994 have replaced the Occupational Safety and Health Classification, Packaging and Labeling of Hazard Regulation 1997. CPI regulations. The objective of the class regulation is to ensure supply of hazardous chemicals, provide sufficient information of chemical that this so as to mitigate risk of accidents happening in the workplace. This providing safe and healthy working environment conditions. According to the class regulation, suppliers are responsible for classification, labeling of safety data sheets, packaging, and chemical inventory information filling. Suppliers are described in the law as people who supply hazardous chemical, and they include both agents or subsidiaries, those who formulate, manufacture, import, recycle, or reformulate hazardous chemical compounds. That is, supply who pack, disrupt, or retail hazardous chemicals.
Okay. My name is BALQIS binti Muhammad Ramzi, and I'm going to
Assalamualaikum.